We have news to talk about today. What news say you? Well, for starters, the if you like Steam Decks and stuff and been holding off, they're introducing a new one, the Steam Deck OLED, which is an OLED screen instead of the LCD display. Comes in a 7.4 inch, almost a 7.5 inch display with a 512 gigabyte drive for $549, and the same thing basically with a 1 terabyte drive or $649, which isn't bad. I'd actually consider owning one to play stuff on the road if I travel. A, if I traveled, and B, if the screen was bigger. But since that's not happening, there's also been a price drop apparently on the original Steam Deck. The 256 gigabyte LCD version is $400. The availability for the OLED version is in 6 days. I just thought you'd like to know. In other news, because I'm going to be playing this a lot when it releases, this is important. May not be important to you, but we're going to talk about it anyway. The developers for the first Descendent, Nexon, have released a dev note. And here's what it says. Greetings, Descendant. This is the first Descendant's producer, Lee Bonjom. It has already been over a month since we ran the cross-play open beta test of the first Descendant. The reason we haven't been able to share more news with you sooner is because we received so much feedback from our Descendants who participated in this test. With your incredible support and interest, we had a lot to consider in shaping the game for a better gaming experience. Our dev team has been having intense internal discussions every day since the test ended. As a result, we were able to set some major directions and a broad framework on how we're going to continue to develop the game, and today I would like to share with you what we've learned from the crossplay open beta test. Firstly, the week-long crossplay open beta that started on the 19th was cross-platform across all global regions, covering PC on Steam, PlayStation 4 and 5, and the Xbox Series. Almost 2 million players took part in the test, and while they participated from various regions around the globe, North America showed the most interest in playtime. We were also hugely surprised by the high level of engagement from console users, with a 50-50 split in player count between consoles and PC. Key feedback from the test is, as I mentioned earlier, many Descendants participated in this test and they gave us a lot of feedback. There were many words of support too, such as how they enjoyed the game and that it has improved a lot since the last beta test, which is incredibly encouraging to the dev team, and we're grateful for that. But there was just as much feedback about improvements that are needed to move the game forward, so today I would like to share my thoughts in that direction we will be taking next. In regards to missions, to begin with, we received the most feedback about repetition of missions and underutilization of fields. This is true. There should have been a lot more enemies and stuff between battles just roaming the field. And that is a valid gripe that I heard. The current missions and fields were designed with certain intentions by our dev team, but this crossplay open beta test has made us recognize an urgent need to improve the gameplay. I don't think it needs that much improvement personally because it was such a vast improvement over the first, but that's okay. So we're going to make significant improvement to both missions and fields. We'll not only improve the quality of the missions, but also add necessary features for co-op play and matchmaking support for dungeon missions. Very important, because a lot of the times getting anybody to help you with the final big dungeons, especially, it's a monumental pain in the ass. And most importantly, we'll introduce new contents to the fields to make the gameplay more enjoyable. We'll share more details about this in the future dev notes when it's ready to be revealed. About the prologue and tutorial. Many Descendants had positive things to say about the new prologue and tutorial, which made the difficult decision to revamp the prologue after the last Steam beta test all the more rewarding and worthwhile. However, there were also a lot of people who expressed disappointment with the storytelling in conjunction with the repetition of missions that I mentioned earlier. The dev team is working on several ideas and improvements in this area. The user interfaces. There were numerous comments about the UI and UX as well. We've made many improvements to them since the last Steam beta test, but we still received a lot of feedback. They did make a lot of improvements. Accordingly, we're going to make improvements to the controls and visibility, including improvements to the module UI that many have commented about, and we're also planning to make the much requested loadout feature available at launch, which means you can have different weapons loadouts, and all you can got to do is switch between them while you're running around, depending on what the mission is. We're also working on improving gamepad controls for console and gamepad users. Shooter play and action. We've also received diverse feedback on the shooter play and action aspects of the game, and we're really encouraged that many have expressed a high level of satisfaction with various combat sound effects. Oh my god. If you played in this beta, but didn't play in the last beta, the sound effects were so much freaking better. We're planning to continue balancing the combat sound effects and adding more detail to increase the quality. In terms of gameplay, there were a lot of complaints of frustrated players due to the difficulty in obtaining ammunition. And I would like to say we are also preparing various improvements for this issue. I don't know why people were complaining about that per se, except for maybe the drop rates for their favorite type of ammunition for their favorite weapon may have been lower than other drops that were being dropped in the midst of battle, because that's how you get your ammunition for the most part. You kill every living thing around you and they drop ammunition, health, and all that other shit. So I don't know why people were complaining as much about that. I honestly think the drop rates need to be even across the board, though, so I can understand that to an extent, I suppose. Regarding action, there was great interest in the completely revamped grappling hook, which was an improvement, but it can still use work, and the addition of parkour. While there was a lot of positive feedback, there were just as many suggestions for more improvement. Despite the plentiful feedback on enhancing the action aspect, our dev team are honestly kind of cautious about it because of the balance with the shooter play. Nevertheless, we're testing several radical features to answer our Descendants' requests seriously. We'll decide on this after taking several internal tryouts, so we'll try to get to you more about it later on. Optimization and security. We are also aware of issues with optimization, graphics quality, and settings. We're already working on specific improvements, so please look forward to them. Finally, we've made it one of our highest priorities to establish measures in response to users who use cheating methods during the crossplay open beta test. We apologize once again to our Descendants who had any inconvenience from users that did not play in a fair way. I honestly don't know about this one because I saw people playing with Descendants I couldn't get to yet. And for those that hung out with me for that week for the open beta test, this last one, you know I was on it almost constantly, online and off. Although there were people playing characters that I couldn't get access to yet. Because I couldn't get... Partially because I couldn't get help to move myself along in the tougher stuff. And partially because... I suppose maybe people were cheating on that aspect. There are many more development matters that I'd like to talk about, but for today, I'll conclude with my thoughts on the future development directions of the game. I believe that for looter shooters as a genre, growth elements, motivation to play, and ease of play over a long playtime are more important than anything else. Therefore, the dev team has been focusing on strengthening the growth elements to enhance the inherent fun of the looter shooter, buffing content that allows players to use a variety of characters, and improve the UI and UX to ensure the players aren't frustrated by repetitive gameplay. Even after the release, we'll continue to address any shortcomings and keep updating content for our Descendants to enjoy. Now, to be fair, the very first looter shooter I ever played was the first Descendant here, and not this beta test that they just did, but the one before it, last open. And I enjoyed the hell out of it enough that I finally picked up Destiny 2. Didn't enjoy that one as much, which is why I was excited when the crossplay came open, and why I'm eagerly awaiting the full release of this game. Now, back to the dev note. Key future development directions for the first Descendant. This crossplay open beta test was an invaluable time for our dev team, giving us a good look at what our Descendants enjoyed, what frustrated them, and the current state of the game. So, we're using the results of this test as a basis to discuss our future plans. The Descendants' expectations and support for the test have been so amazing that we're eager to perfect the game even further. As such, we're still discussing heatedly about our release schedule and future plans, and to implement your feedback for better quality. We are looking for the launch period to be in 2024. Now, before I read the rest of this, let me say this. I have personally said when they announced the open crossplay beta test, and I've said pretty much all, since they announced it, I said at the time that if the beta test went well and there weren't really any bugs or too many things that needed fixing, that I suspected it would probably be first quarter of next year in 2024. So within the first 3 months, January, February, or March, or possibly even April, May. What this gives me vibes on is it's probably going to be in the latter half of that, if not a little later into the summer. I hope not the fall, because I don't want to wait another year. But by the same token, I'd rather wait another full year for the full release than have them deliver a really super buggy game. Which so many developers do. These guys actually seem to be taking their time and give a shit. Now, I know a lot of people that say a lot of bad shit about Nexon games, but this is showing me good. This is giving me good vibes. So again, what this is telling me is that we'll probably get it in the hopefully in the second quarter. I still hope for the first quarter, but I'm not holding my breath because we're already halfway into November, almost. So probably earliest beginning of second quarter. So April at earliest. We'll provide more details about the release schedule in the near future. It's also heartbreaking for us that we could not deliver the exact date that you have been asking about and expecting. The Crossplay Open Beta was a precious opportunity for our dev team to meet so many Descendants, and we'll continue to share improvements, changes, and new features through the community as before. Even though the game isn't available to play right now, so many of you are active, supportive, and engaged in the community and through various channels. In response, we'll continue to make the first Descendant better together. We'll remain transparent in our communication and listen to your feedback up until and after the release as well. Okay, that's news on first Descendant, which I wanted to get out of the way first, because this is kind of important to me. Because I really, 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 really want to play this game some more. To be fair, this thing launches in full, and it may take over Darktide. And I've got almost 960 hours in Darktide now since this release last year on November 29th in 2022. I expect to have 1,000 or more by the first anniversary on this November 29th. Which tells you how, obsessed I am with the game. Obsessed is probably a good word. How much I enjoy playing it. Okay. And this will be the same way. I love this game. So, with the first Descendant. So, I will be spending a lot of time on it as well. In other news, Fat Shark announced the Vanguard PC bundle yesterday. Catfish posted yesterday. Hi everyone, it has been a joy to watch players old and new alike jump into Tertium following the release of patch 13. Thank you for your support. A few weeks ago we said we'd get back to you regarding concerns raised by our PC community. Today we're laying out how we're addressing them. We'll be granting the Vanguard bundle to PC players, Steam and Windows PC, who have played Warhammer 40k Darktide on PC before November 17th of this year. The Vanguard bundle includes exclusive cosmetics for all classes, inspired by our first teaser trailer released in 2020. One blue backpack for human classes, matching the blue of the cosmetic sets. 2 portrait frames, and 1 insignia. And there's an image here. Ooh. I might run that on my veteran. Don't know about that. Might run that. 21st Recon insignia. Cool. The Vanguard bundle will be added to the game at the end of the month, where PC players will find it already in their inventory. Thank you for being part of our journey for the past year, the Darktide team. So what they're telling you is, yep, you're going to get all this shit for free. I like free. I will say to this, to Fat Shark though, you need to move some of the stuff, some of the earlier stuff that's been in the Commodore's Vesture shop for actual money into the commissary. And we could really use more than the frickin' 2 camos that are available in the commissary for weapons. We need more camo in the commissary, please. Thank you for weapons. I appreciate it. Because quite frankly, I'm getting bored with both of them. And I hate that red camo, the fire wastes. So, pop out some more. Or move some of the older stuff that's been around into the commissary. Same as the outfits that I'm suggesting. And that has been an update on games with Lobo, your bearded wolf god.